Today I'm going to show you about Class Dojo, which is a tool that teachers can use to keep track of behaviors by giving and taking points. You can also use it to communicate with parents. You could enable students to log in so they could submit assignments on portfolios. All of those features, you can choose which one you like. You don't have to use everything. I'll show you what it looks like in teacher view and a little bit of what parents see and student view as well. Signing up is quick and easy. The first thing you want to do is go to classdojo.com, and once you're there, click on sign up, or you can also select here, sign up as a teacher. Parents and students would also go here when they sign up as well. So I'm going to select teacher, and then I'm going to enter. I made up a fake teacher name, so I'll say I'm Mr. Vincent Anwar, Black Cat, and my email. Okay. And then you get the choice, use your school email to join your school community. I've seen people use Gmail or Yahoo as well. It doesn't really matter which one you use. And then make up a password for your account. You could use a suggested password or type whatever you want as long as it's 8 characters or more. And then go ahead and click sign up. On the next screen, it says let's find your school. You don't have to do this, but if you connect with your school, you'll see all the other teachers that are using Class Dojo, and you'll have access to the directory of students. So once you start adding students and you start typing their name, you'll see them pop up and you can just easily add them to your class. So I'll go ahead and type the school here. There's AJ Hyde, and then I'll click to connect so I can see some of the teachers that are using it here, and then I'll join this school. Since I didn't use a school email, it's prompting me to enter my actual school email address. I can update it, or I can say no thanks. Once you connect to your school, an email will be sent to whoever the Class Dojo mentor is at your school, and they will approve you so you can get added. And then now I see this message here that says verify your email. So then you would go to whatever email you chose, and you'd see an email from Class Dojo, and then just say verify now, and then you can get started. So the first thing you might see here is your classes. They automatically add a demo class for you. So if you want to experiment with some of the features, I can click on that class, and there's some students already added in there. If I click on this little arrow, I can go back. So let's get started and add our first class. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to an account that I've used before to show you how to add a new class. So when I click plus, then you can select your class name. So maybe I'll say Ms. Islas class 2020, and then I can select the grade level that I teach. Here in this drop down, you can choose what kind of points you share with parents. So in Class Dojo, you can give positive points or take away points, or you could even use 0 points to just document behaviors, but not necessarily reward or take away points. So that would be the share all points if you want to do that. Or you could document things with the point values, but choose not to share points. So that would be that option. Don't share points with parents. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this middle one, share all points, just so that you could see what that looks like. And then you could click create class. And then here it says add your students and let's get the party started. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. Now I could just start typing names. Since I've already connected to my school in this account, if I start typing names, they start to populate here with students that have connected to Class Dojo in previous years or this year at my school. So if I type a name and I see that student, then I can just click on them and add them like that, and then keep typing names and keep going that way. Or you could click on this down here, and you could import students from a Excel sheet. Let me just show you what what that looks like. So you could copy and paste student names here, or you could say import from Excel and then click import list. Once you're done adding students, go ahead and click save. For this example, I'm just going to type some fake students here. I'm going to say Miranda, and if I don't see the Miranda I want on my list, I can just click this one. Usually I'd recommend having last names as well, so I'll go ahead and add her there. And then I'll add Miss Courtney Rudd here, and also Kate. Okay. And then I click save. Now that you've added your students, you get a chance here to invite parents. I can click up here at any time. On this screen, I have a few choices for connecting parents. On this little donut here, I can see that 0% is connected so far because it's a new class. Here I can invite by email or phone number, so I would just type the parent's email or cell phone number here and then click invite, and then they would get an email or a text that prompts them to follow the link to Class Dojo, and it'll give them a code to enter so that they can add their student. You could also download parent invites. So like if you were in a classroom, for example, you might give the invites to your students. And you could choose a language here. So if you need to change the language to Spanish, you could find it here. And the invitations would be generated in Spanish. I'll leave it at English for now. Here you could choose to generate the PDFs for all parents or only the ones that haven't connected so far. So maybe if you're missing just a few parents, you could do this option. If I click on download parent invites, then it'll start generating a PDF. And then I can just click OK, and now I see the PDF here is at the bottom of my screen. If I click on that and open it up, it gives me some directions. This is for the teacher. Print the invite, send it home. And then using the app or classdojo.com, parents would use the invite code that you give them. So then there's one sheet per student. So here's my student Miranda, and then here's the directions. And she has a specific code just for that student. And then if I go to the next one, there's my other student, Kate Friels, and there's a different code for that student than the previous one. If you wanted to share these PDFs with parents now during distance learning, maybe you could take a screenshot of each student's page and then email it, or maybe you could share it with the student in Google Classroom. Yeah, whatever is easiest for you. And maybe the, just entering their email or phone number is easier. Now I'm going to show you the Class Dojo messaging feature. So inside this class, I've added a bunch of test students and I connected some test parents. And so if I want to send them a message, I can go up here and click on messages. And then I can see that a couple of them have parents connected. The student test 2 has 2 different parents. If I click on it, I can see the parent's name, and there's the other one's name. And here test 1 has 1 parent. And these are parents that still need to connect to Class Dojo. I can click on all parents if I want to send a message to all of the parents that are connected, and then I can type my message here at the bottom. So I'll go ahead and try that. Remember, there is no school on Friday. And then I could click send, or I could click on this little drop down arrow and schedule a time for it to send. So if I don't want to send this notification to parents at midnight, then maybe I can select that and choose a time that works for me. So I can just click in here and change the time, and then go ahead and schedule, and it'll go out then. I can, before I send it, I can choose to go back and edit, or I could say schedule it now. If I want to send a message to a specific parent, I can click on that student. It says test 1's parent, and then I can type my message at the bottom and send. There's also the possibility of sending to a few parents. So I could click on new message, and then I could either select all, like I could in the other screen, Or maybe I just want to, select this one and that one, and it adds that parent to the top here. And then I can click next and type my message that's just for those two parents and click send. If I go back to this all parent screen, I can see here that I could set up quiet hours, and you can also access that in your settings. So if I click here, then it brings up this settings screen, and under messaging I can turn on quiet hours so that you won't get your phone notifying you if parents are messaging you. And I think they will see, when your quiet hours are. So you're unavailable from maybe 3:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. And in this section, you can also choose to mute weekend notifications so that it's not alerting you on Saturday or Sunday. And then you can just close that up. If you are not in this section, in the messaging section, and you want to find that again, you can go up to your profile picture and then go to account settings and then just select messaging. Now let's look at one more way that you can communicate with parents. Instead of messages, I can select class story, and this is kind of like a place where you would post, kind of like Facebook posts. All parents can see the class story, and you can post announcements in there and pictures and upload files. You can record a video up to 8 minutes, and you can schedule an event. Currently, only parents can see an event. It's kind of like a reminder that there's an event coming, but Class Dojo is working on making it so that students can also see these events. So for example, I can type a message here if I want. So I'll pretend, let's see, spring break is happening from April, I forget what it was, April 1st through 5th or whatever it is. And then if I have a photo that I want to go with this message, I can click here. I could just post the text also, but let's go ahead and add a photo. And then on the web version here, you can just drag in a file, or you can browse on your computer. So I know that I had one called Spring Break, and then there it is, and I can upload that file. Now I'll show you what that looks like in parent view in a minute, but now I can click post, and so that's what it'll look like on here. Now it's a little bit hard to adjust the photo. They might need to click on it to see what it looks like. Yeah, pictures that are square work a lot better in this kind of stream. Now let's add a post that has a file attachment. So for example, I can click file, and then I know I have a story that's a PDF here on my computer. I called it Animal Emotions, and then I can click on upload once I select the file, and there is the attachment. So then I could just write some directions if I want, such as read this book and tell your parents 3 things that happened. And then I can click post. So if I click on this attachment, it should open up the book, and then students can read it. Another thing you can do is record a video. So let's say maybe I want to announce something or check in with my students. So I can click record, and you have up to 8 minutes to record. So there's me. When I'm ready, I can click on this icon, and it'll be counting down from 8 to 0. So I can go ahead and click, and now it's recording. So maybe I might say, hello students, I hope you're doing well. Make sure to keep checking Class Dojo every day for your assignments. Then once I click stop, I can review the video. Go ahead and click. And then if I don't like it, I can click retake and film it again. Or if it looks okay, I can click continue. And there it is. You don't have to type anything in here. I could just click post if I want. And then students would click on the video to click. And the last thing I'll show you here for this class story kind of Facebook style stream is the event. And this just is a reminder for parents, like I said. So maybe let's say you were actually teaching in the classroom and you had a class party or something like that. Or maybe in this scenario of distance learning, you might have a reminder to pick up the work packet on Monday or whatever it is. So whatever your event is, title it and then change the date and time. So maybe I'll say class party Friday, April 10th. And I'll just type the time here, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that looks fine. Or I have the option to say all day. You can add a description if you want. Here you can just change the color of the theme if you want. Maybe I'll just do blue. Here you can select an emoji if you want to go with that. So maybe if I search for party, let's see what we get. That looks good. And then this reminder is when do you want the parents to receive this notification? So choose when reminders get sent to parents for the event. So maybe if it were a class party, I might choose maybe just 5 days before and 1 day before, or maybe just 1 day before, it's up to you, and then create the event. So again, students will not see that currently, but it's a feature that Class Dojo is working on, so hopefully soon students will be able to see events like that. If you'd like to add a file in your class story that's really big, like maybe you want to share more than one picture, or you want to share a really long video, I would suggest pasting a link in here in your post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a video. I'm just going to go to my other account here, and I'm in my Screencastify folder, and I want to share this video. So you want to make sure that it has that share icon, whatever you're sharing, because you want people to be able to see it. So let me show you how to do that. Okay, so here is the Screencastify video. Maybe that's the one I want to share, and I don't see that share icon, so I can click on it and then click share right here, or I can right click and then go to share. And then I want to go to advanced just to see what it's set to. So it's set to private. I can click on change right here and then make it anyone with the link can view. So now I know that when I share the link, parents will be able to see it. So I click on save and then copy that link with Control C and then click done. If you want parents to be able to download the video, make sure that this box is not selected, or if you don't want them to download your video, then you can check the box. And then click save. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to my Class Dojo. And so let's say here it is. Please watch this video about how to use Screencastify, or whatever your video is about. And then I just clicked enter to go down, and then I'm going to paste the link and then post and then see what happens. So now I can see that I have this link here. It doesn't look very pretty, but at least I can see that it's clickable. So when I click on the link, it opens up this video here, and then students could click play to watch it. And you could do the same thing with a folder. Let's see here. So I'm back in my Google Drive, and then maybe I have, oh here, this is perfect, aquarium photos. So here's from my field trip to the aquarium. I can see I already shared this, but again, you could go into the share settings and go to advanced and make sure that anyone can see it, and then copy the link. So, oops, I forgot to copy it. So I'll go ahead and just click here to copy, or you can do Control C once you've selected, either way. And now I'll go back to my class story. And so again, I could do, here's some pictures from our field trip, if we actually still had field trips. And then I could paste the link, and then parents could click to access those photos. So here it is in parent view. So now I can go click on the link and oops, it looks like I'm getting a pop-up, a message on my computer. By the way, if you ever get that, you can just right click on that little error icon with the X and then say always allow pop-ups from Class Dojo. So you might have on that on your device if you're on a Chromebook. Okay, so now that I've enabled that, I can click on it and students will see a folder from my Google Drive with pictures. So they could just click on the picture, open it up and view. This one looks kind of weird because it was a 360 photo. So that's about it for class story. And now I want to show you what the messaging and the class story look like from the parent view. So I'm gonna go and open another page here. And so this is me logged in as a parent. And now as soon as I go in there on this, oh, and I put this page in Spanish, I'll show you how you can do that. So this is Inicio, the home page. And on that home page, parents can see all of the class story posts. And they also have the option to like the post, or they can add a comment. And that's something that you can turn off in the settings as well if you are not comfortable with that. Here in the messages, I can see any messages that the teacher sent to me. So here it says, hi everyone. This is a reminder that there's no school on Friday. But if I have my account set to Spanish and maybe I can't read this, it says ver traducción, so I can see a translation. So if I click there, now it translated it to the language that I have my account set to. So, hola a todos, esto es un recordatorio de que no hay escuela el viernes. That sounds pretty good. But I think it is translated by Google Translate, so maybe sometimes it's not perfect, but in this case, it seemed to work. If you do have a parent who wants to change their account from English to Spanish, they can go up to their name here, and then this will be account settings. So once they click on that, they can scroll down and this will say language preference, and then they can select the language here. With this account, I created it using the phone app, and my phone was set to Spanish. So Class Dojo automatically created the account in Spanish as well. So they might not need to go in there, but just in case, go to their name, and then they would click on account settings. And this is also where they can log out as well. Another thing about the parent view here, when parents comment on a post, like maybe I'll say, thank you, teacher. Other parents can see their comments and respond, and you can type in there as well. Now I'm going to go back to my teacher view. I can go up to my profile picture here and then click on account settings, and then if I want to make it so that parents can't comment anymore, I can go here and then turn off class story comments. So parents will no longer be able to comment on your class story posts. Comments made on previous posts will be hidden until you re-enable comments. So if that's what you want, you'd click OK. You might notice that now up here on this bell, that's my notifications. So it looks like I have one notification. If I click on that, when a parent comments on something, or if they send me a message, I will see a notification icon here, and I can click on it to go to that comment. Sometimes Class Dojo sends announcements or like pictures that you can use or activities, so it's worth checking out what they send. So now I've gone back to that class that I just barely created to show you a little bit about points if you want to use points. I haven't set it up in this class yet, so the place I can find that is if I go under options and then go to edit class, I can find that skills tab here. That's where points will be, but just let me point out some other things that you can find here under edit class. If you're on this class tab, you can also click here to add students. So maybe you got a new student, and then you could enter their name here and add them like we saw earlier. You can delete an existing student. So if I click on that first one, here it says remove student from class. I can also access that same parent section that we were in before. This is just another place to find it where you can invite parents. Here, the last one, teachers, is where you can add a co-teacher so that they can also give points and they can message parents as well. So let me go back here to skills now. So I think these are, some default ones that they added. And I selected at the beginning that I wanted positive and needs work points. So I can set that up here. If I don't want one of these skills, I can click on it to edit and then delete that skill. So I'll go ahead and delete that one. Maybe I'll just delete all of them so we can start from scratch. You also have the option to, if you've used Class Dojo before and you already set up all the points that you want, you can click on import from and click on that little triangle and then just add the points that you've used in a different class and it'll put them in right there. So now I've deleted all the points to start from scratch, and I want to think of some positive behaviors that I'd like to see with my students. You might think about what rules you have in the classroom. That might be something to add. For example, I could click add here, and then you could choose from one of these pictures to represent that skill. I'm going to go ahead and decide. I think the first one I want is participation. Maybe you're doing a lot of Zoom or Google Hangout Meet video chats. And then you could choose what point value you want. You have the option to have a 0 point value if you're just document some behaviors, but you don't want students to be, getting positive or negative points. In this case, I'm going to select one, and then I'll choose a picture that reminds me of what would be a good picture for participation. It could be anything. Maybe I'll have this speaker or anything you want, and then click save. So now I should have one skill here. I think a good one for this time is like attended video chat, or maybe I will just type video chat because it's shorter. And I could give them points for that, or maybe I just kind of want to know who's coming to the chat. Maybe some people can't access it yet because of technology issues. So I might just make that a 0 point value. Now let's see if there's any icons that work. Yeah, there's not that many here, so you might have to be creative here. I'll just do this little checkbox here, and then click save. And so now that's a different color. It's orange instead of the green kind of positive points. That's a neutral point. And, if I want to create some needs work skills or where you're going to take away points for behavior, then I can go to this needs work section and then add a skill. So something I might not want to see in a chat room is inappropriate language. Maybe there's inappropriate chat going on or something like that. And then I could choose a negative point value and save. So it's up to you whether you use points or not. And maybe you do want to use points, but maybe you don't want to share with parents. Here again, just like when we set up our class, it says choose which points you'd like parents to see. So maybe it's just for me. So I can keep track of participation and maybe turning in homework packets or anything that you want to keep track of. And then when you're done, you can just click the X, and now I have a few different points. So I'm going to go back to one of my other classes so you can see how to give points. Here's some where I have parents connected. So there's a few ways you can give points. I can give points to everyone in the class. Maybe all my students attended the video chat, so I can go to whole class, and then I could choose the positive or the needs work. So maybe everybody behaved really well in the video chat, positive digital citizenship, so I'll click that, and now 5 students, all my students, got a point. And you can see here in the whole class, it totals the entire class's points. If I click on a particular student, like this one here, then I can give points to just that one student. Maybe I'll say helping others, and now they have one more point. I can also select multiple students without selecting everyone. If you go down to the bottom where it says select multiple, I can click on that and now choose whichever students I want to receive or lose points. And then down at the bottom here, I can see there's that give feedback button, and now I can choose which one. So maybe I'll do this participation, and now they just got a neutral point. So another thing you can do with your students here is you might want to take a point if something happens. And then if I do that, a lot of times parents want to see, well, what exactly happened? Why did they lose 1 point? So I'm going to go over to options here and just show you where you can add a note. So if I go to options and go to view reports, and then I select the student that I took points from, that was test 2 student, I can see a little graph here of their points for the week. And it doesn't show the neutral points in here, but it has the totals. So they have 5 points, positive, 1 needs work, and 2 neutral. And here I can select the time frame. So I could even do a custom date range. Maybe I do from March to June. If I click that, I can scroll through the months. And so maybe I'll do March 10th through the current date. And then it'll show me the graph for that whole time, which is probably exactly the same since I haven't entered that much data here. But yeah, if you select that time period, then you can see all of the points listed here for that time period, and then any notes that you add. So once I scroll underneath there, there's that add note section. So I'm going to write an explanation. So I might just say inappropriate language in Zoom, and then add note. And so then the parent would see that along with the points here. Let me skip over to the parent here so you could see what they see. So if I go back to the one where I was logged in as a parent, if they click on their student here, then it says see the report. So they can see the behavior report only for a limited amount of time. They have this week or last week or the last 2 weeks. And so here is the note that I wrote and all of the points. So if possible, like for example, in this example here, the parent has it set to Spanish, you might want to type your comment in Spanish because there's no possibility of translating here. Another place you can add a note is right here, and it'll be about the last action that you took. So maybe if I go back to this test student, and they did a really good job helping someone, so it doesn't always have to be negative. Maybe I'll do helping others, and then I want to add a note about that. And so here, since this was the last action I took, test student here, helping others, I can enter a note about that. So I'm so proud of test student for helping another student learn how to use Zoom. And then add the note, and the parent would see it on their end when they look at the skill points. Another thing you can do when you give points, let's say I accidentally give everybody a point when I meant to take one, or vice versa. Yeah, that's probably a good example. Maybe everybody got not following directions and it was an accident. I can always go here to undo the last thing that I did, and then it'll give everybody that point back. So that's another useful feature of Class Dojo. Okay, and another thing you might think about doing, there's a couple options of getting rid of points. What I used to like to do is reset the points every week. That way students can start anew every week, and you can do that here in the options. if I go to reset bubbles, and then I can select just one student, or I could select all students and reset the bubbles there. I'm not going to do it because I want to show you one more thing you can do. So I'll close that. Sometimes what teachers like to do, especially if you are in a classroom, is let students exchange points, kind of like a class currency. So that's kind of a new feature of Class Dojo. So if I go to this student, test student, now I see this redeem points. So maybe if they get 5 points, enter a number between 1 through 6. So maybe they're turning in 5 points, and then they get some kind of a reward. So here I could type what the reward was. So maybe they got a prize from the prize box, and then I could say redeem points. And now it subtracted 5 points here. So if you would prefer that, that's one thing you could do. In this classroom view, there's a couple more things you can do. One of which is you could switch from students to groups. So this is where you could kind of make class teams or table groups. So if I click on add a group, then I can select the students that will be in that group. So maybe I'll click these 2 students, and then you can name it whatever you want, the red team, group 1, or whatever it is, and then click create group, and now I can see those 2 students in there. And then I can create another group. So I'll say green team, and then I'll select the other 3 students and create the group. And so now when I'm in this group view here, I can select a group to give points to. And so when I award the group, again, I can select whatever skill that they got points for. So if I do helping others, then now the red team has a 1 point and the other group has 0. If I go back to this view and I give the whole class points, that doesn't affect the group points. So it's just if you want to give a group points and keep track of it here, then you can go there and add a point for that team. If I need to change anything about a group, I can click on it and then go to this little settings gear, and I could delete the group. Maybe I want to delete all of them and redo, or maybe I want to edit the group. Maybe I have a new student, or I want to switch a student. I'll do test 1, I'll put on the red team, and now I'd have to go back here and remove test 1 from this group. So I'd go to edit group and then remove them. So now this group has 2 and that group has 3 students. Going back to, I'll just click on students here so you can see everyone again. At the bottom, you'll notice that there's a few more tools that you can use. One of the ones I like is this random chooser. So maybe if I've taught a lesson and then I want to stop and ask a question, I can click on random, and then it'll select a student, and I can choose to give them a point. So maybe one of my skills is correct answer, and then I could click on it and give them the point. Or you don't have to give any points at all. It could just be a way of choosing a student. Another feature here is the attendance. If you want to, you could keep track of attendance, and you do that by clicking on students. So by default, they're all set to present, right? Mark all present. Or I could mark all absent and it'll change it. So, but by default, they're all present. I can also click on a student and cycle through all the options. So if I click on this test student, then now when I clicked on it twice, it has this other icon here, and I believe that's tardy. And then if I click one more time, that one is left early. And when I'm done, so maybe I'll say this one was absent today and this one was tardy, which again, it might not make sense during distance learning. You might just mark present or not. But once you've made your changes, click Save Attendance. Now that I've clicked Save after taking attendance, I noticed that some of the students are grayed out, and that's because for the student I selected left early, and for this one I selected absent. So now I can't click on them to give points. If I click on whole class, I only have 3 students selected. So that's just one way to give points to only the students that are there that day. If I want to see a report of attendance, I can go up to options and back to view reports. And then if you have whole class selected, you'll notice that you have the donut, right? That's this, or you could switch to attendance. And then I've only taken attendance this one day, so I can click on that little check mark to see more information. I can see that test 3 student was absent, test 4 was late, and test 2 left early. So you would see student names here. If I click on it, then I could see even more information, and I could even change it. Maybe the student wasn't actually absent. Maybe they came in late, so I could change them to present and then save it. And then you can close that. You can scroll through the weeks here, but again, I only did attendance this one day. Some more tools here at the bottom. The timer is useful, at least in the classroom. So you could set it, maybe you have 1 minute to talk to your partner, and you could start the countdown. I suppose you could use this during a Zoom meeting if you want. You could share your screen and then show the timer, or use the random chooser if that's what you like, and then it'll ring when it's done. And you could always reset to start over. You can also do stopwatch, so starting from 0 to time something, and then click start, and it'll count seconds. And then I can just click the X here to close. You can also move this around if it's in the way. Yes, the toolkit. If I click that, there's just a few more tools you can use. This timer looks a little bit different. It has some times that you can choose from, and you can add your own times here. It's just another way of doing it. You can have a noise meter that's more like for the classroom, or a group maker. This is kind of cool. So you can choose how many students you want per group, but if you don't want certain students to work together, you can click here and then choose students and then type their names, or you could select them. So maybe I don't want test 3 and 4 to work together, and I'll click done, and then I'll go back here to select my group size now. So it should remember not to group those. So I'll say groups of 2, and now test 3 is in one group and test 4 is in the other. To exit the screen, I can click on the little tiny X at the top right corner. The last tool I want to show you down here is really a link to another page here, the big ideas. That'll open another tab, and this is where Class Dojo shares a lot of videos that they've made about different attributes or skills. So here's one about growth mindset that I really like. There's perseverance, and here this one shows you that it's a new one. So there's quite a few that I haven't seen yet. If I click on one, then here's the 3 different videos in this series, and then I can click on one, and I can preview the video here. If I click start activity, that will also take you to the preview screen. So here I'm in watch the video, and once I'm done watching it, I can look at the discussion questions. I can see that there's 3 of them, so I can scroll through and check them out. And then I could even click share here, and it will share this video, not the questions. You can click on the text to edit it if you'd like. So then once you're done, you can share on class story. I'm going to go ahead and X out of that. Another thing you can do is look at these discussion questions. So there's just another place to find them. Looks like I can select it, all the questions, and then copy with Control C, And then maybe now I can add that to that post. So now I'm going to go to share to class story. This is the screen we were at before. And maybe I want to change it now. Let's say, watch this video about moods and attitudes. And then I'll say here, and then discuss these questions with your family. And now I'll do Control V to paste them in there. Might need to fix a couple things. I forgot to copy the one there. And if that's too much text, maybe you don't need to add so many questions. Maybe you just want to add one. But I'm going to go ahead and click share so you can see what it looks like. Oops, and once I click share, I see all the classes that I've created. I think the one I was using was distance learning. And now it tells me that it was shared. So I can close this and then go back to the other tab where my class was and go to class story to see what it looks like. Let me refresh my screen here. Here it is. So there's that video. It says watch this video and then discuss these questions with your family. There's all the questions. So students can click here to watch it. Maybe you want them to answer the question here in the comments. They could do that with the help of their parents. I'd like to show just a couple more options here. So if I go to options and go to display settings, maybe you want to change the order of your students. Right now they're listed by whatever I said their first name was. So I could go to display settings and then I could sort them by last name if that's what you prefer. I could show the last names as well. So in this case, I just made their last name the number that I attached to them. I can play award sounds for the different points I give. So you may have noticed that there's like a ding and then like another noise for when I take a point. So if that's distracting, you could turn that off. Yep, and then you could change how you view the points. So right now I combine the totals. So if I give 3 points but then take one, then they'll have 2 points. But I could choose to show separate totals. So I don't know if you guys can see now there's a green circle and a red circle, or I can say don't show points. So I'm gonna save here just so you can see what that looks like, the separate totals. And now that I turned off the positive and negative noise when I give points, if I give a point here, it won't make a sound. Last thing, if I go up to the profile picture and go back to account settings, there's a few ways you can personalize. So you can add that photo. I added a GIF here. So you can add a JPEG or probably a PNG or a GIF, and you could browse your computer to add one. You can change the name that students see, and you can change your role here. You can also change your password if need be. So once you're logged in, you can go here and type your new password 2 times. You could change the language of your account, and we already looked at messaging and comments. But another thing you could do here under messaging is download message history. Maybe you need to submit that to your principal or something. I could go here to download and then choose the class. And I have like a million classes here because it's showing even the ones that I've archived that I don't see anymore. So here's that distance learning, and I only have like one comment in here, but I just want you to see what it looks like. So now I can close that and it downloaded here. It's on the bottom left of my computer. And it just has this notepad file, and there's like the one comment that I sent to parents. So anyway, that's there. And yep, that's the most important things on here. About archiving classes, if I want to go back and look at all of my classes, I can go to this little arrow. So on the screen, I see all of my current classes that I'm using. If I want to remove a class from here, maybe I have too many classes, I can go to the little gear next to the class that I want to archive and then say finish class. Now it'll give me the choice to either archive the class or graduate the class. Archive is the most common. It's just kind of getting the class out of the way, but it's not actually deleting it. You could still find it, and I'll show you where to do that in a minute. Graduate class, that removes the class from here, but it also removes any students and parents from that directory that you saw when I was adding students. So maybe you teach 5th grade or any grade where the students are leaving the school, then you would do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and archive that class and then click done. That gives me a little warning. This will remove the class and keep students and connected parents in the directory. So I'm okay with that. I'll click archive class. And now, oops, I made a mistake. What if I need to get it back? Right here underneath your classes, there's this your archive classes drop down. And so I can find that class. There it is, test class with the little symbol here. And all I did was select it and it added it right back here. The last thing I'd like to show you is the portfolios feature. If I click on portfolios, here has a little description. It's a place for students to complete activities and share work with you and their parents. So to get started, you'll need to select a way for students to log in. There's a few choices. So if I click on that, the traditional choices are right here in class login. But they just recently added this at-home login as well. So I'll show you a little bit about that. So if I click on in-class login, I had already set them up to log in with Google, so I'm just going to change that. So now I have these 3 choices. I can choose scan QR code, and so again, this would be more useful in a classroom scenario. If I use that method, it basically has you print out this big poster with one QR code, and everybody uses the same QR code, and then they just select their name from a list. If I use this enter text code and confirm, then students would have to log in using this code. This could be useful in the classroom if they're sharing a device. You would just log into Class Dojo with the code, and then students would select their name from a list, and they could always switch student accounts, like select another name, and then the next student would use it. I prefer the Google sign-in, so if I go to that in-class login, and I'll change the sign-in method again, I'll go to sign in with Google. Recommended for students with their own Google accounts, which all of our students do. If I confirm that, it again gives me this code that they have to enter, but they only have to do it the first time. And then they'll select their name from a list and it'll link their account. So from then on, they just sign in with Google. One more thing, the code only lasts for 48 hours. So let's say you post the code in a Google Classroom and say, please join my class, so you could use portfolios, or maybe you send this to parents somehow and then have the students join. You want to make sure to tell them that, within the day or something to sign up. Otherwise, you'll have to send them another code. This will generate another code in 48 hours. The last choice here, at-home login, is new. And one note, it says students will not be able to log into or see other students' work with these instructions. So if you use this, they can only see their own work. They don't see other students' posts. But it's easy to share once parents are connected. You can just click on message parent, and then it'll have a little message, and it'll have the parents click on this link to see how they can log in. So then you just click send message, and I already sent it to one of my accounts here. So here I accidentally sent it twice, but basically you click on the link, parents would click on the link, and then it shows you 3 different login options depending on what device students are using. And again, this is super brand new. I haven't tried it yet since it's just been added for distance learning. I really like the Google sign-in, but if this seems to work for you, then go ahead and use this kind of login. As a student, when I want to log in, I can go to classdojo.com and then click login and then select student. And that'll take me to the screen where I can choose the method of login. This is for the traditional way of logging in. I set mine to sign in with Google. They can also go to dojo.me, and that'll open up that same student login screen. So I can click on sign in with Google. And then if it's their very first time logging in, they've never logged into another class before, it'll ask them to enter that code that I showed you guys that generates a new code every 48 hours. And so mine was RLKEQG. And so right away, it has me enter the class, and then I can choose my name from the list. And so in this example, I'm test 1 student. And so now it's linking my account. So from now on, if I log in, let me go back out and log out. So now if I log in, I should just be able to log in with Google. I won't need that code anymore. And so here I have the code for that class, Distance Learning with Dojo. That's my class. And in here, here's my home screen. I can see class story posts. So that's what I've been sharing with parents. And then this tab is the portfolio. Let me just show you one more situation. If your students have logged in before for another class, and I go ahead and log in, then it'll load the announcements from their other class. Here's the stories. And then here's a to-do list of assignments from that other class. If I want to add my class, students will have to click here, and then they'll enter that same code. So I'm going to enter that same code, RLKEQG, and submit code, and then as a student, I'll have access to both classes. So then this was test 2 student, and now I've successfully linked my account. I can log in with Google, and I could go back and forth between this class and then the distance learning class. Now that we have students logged in, I'll show you a little bit about creating some activities. So you can just go ahead and click there. I already created one earlier, and then I'll show you what it looks like in student view, but let's go ahead and click create. And then here it gives you some examples of how you can use it. Assign activities like classwork, reflections, and homework directly to student devices. Their responses post to their portfolios once you approve it. So I'll just go ahead and add an activity. Here's the title of the activity, and then you type the instructions here. You can have up to 255 characters. So I'll call this one drawing, and then I'll say draw a portrait of yourself and include 3 things that you love in your portrait. And here I can choose what they will submit. So it could be text, a video recording, a photo, or a drawing. And with the photo, they can actually draw on top of it. So I'll show you some of those features in a bit. But for this one, I'm going to select drawing and assign it to the class. So now here, if you notice, there's 2 different assignments, and depending on what I picked for the mode of turning in the assignment, this one was record a video, and this one was to do a drawing. So I'm going to just add a few more. So I'll add a photo assignment. I'll say science. Take a picture of a bug that you find today and label its parts. And then I'll click photo and assign to the class. And then one more that I'm missing, text entry. Yes, I'll leave that on text. And I'll call this a writing assignment. Maybe you want to put the date of when you want them to do it. So I might say this one is due on April 10th. And then I'll say, write a paragraph about your favorite person. And now I'll assign that to class. And now I have a few different assignments. So now let's see what it looks like from the student view. Now that my test student has logged in, I can go to the portfolio tab to see what the teacher has assigned. And so you'll notice this first section is the to-do section. It has all the assignments. If they're a member of multiple classes, like this student, then they'll see the assignments from both classes. This one was a member of this one and that one. So I'm going to go back to my student that I just barely connected. And below the to-do section, you'll notice that there's this My Portfolio with a plus. So the student can also, besides just responding to assignments, they can click on that plus button at any time and add to their portfolio. So they could take a photo, a video, do a drawing, they can upload a file from their computer, or they can type some text, the journal here. So once I'm ready to respond to one of the assignments, I can click on one of these plus buttons. And so here's the video camera assignment, tell me about your week. I'm gonna click on the plus, and then the directions are here on the side. What did you love about being at home this week? What do you miss about school? So when the student's ready to record, they can click right here. And now it's recording. So I could respond, and when I'm done, I can click the stop, and then students can preview. And now, if they don't like it, they can click on retake and do it again. Or then when they're done, they can click save. So now that I've saved it, I have this option to hand it in. And now it's here in my portfolio. So it's not on the to-do list any longer. I can click the play button to check it out again, and then just close it. Okay, so now the drawing. I'll go back there, draw a portrait of yourself, and include 3 things that you love in your portrait. So you have some tools over here. Here I can choose the thickness of the pen, and then here I can choose the color. So I'll change it to black. So I'll just draw a stick figure since I can't draw. And I like cats. Well, I don't know. You could draw whatever you want. Right, there's my kitty. And when I'm done, oh, what if I make a mistake? I can click on the eraser, and you could choose how big you want the eraser. You could also undo, so maybe that's easier for you to undo. You could redo, they're missing a leg, you can redo. You can add text, so there's a few different choices. And then once I select the text and click here, it puts this box. All right, this line tool helps you make straight lines, and you can choose the thickness. So I can just click and drag, and I can move it around before I let go. And with this shape tool here, you can select a shape. So if I do the square, I can click and drag to make a square. And once I let go, then that shape is there. I can choose this same thing with the circle. You can click and drag. The pentagon is a little bit different. I can't really click and drag to shape it. It's about connecting corners. So I can just click at each corner and then connect it all to seal it. And now it makes a shape. So I could click and make any shape as long as I connect the ends. And that's the drawing tool. You can also add a caption at the bottom. So here's my drawing. Okay, and here at the bottom, there's this little microphone icon. So not only can students draw and add a caption, but they can also record their voice. So as soon as I click it, it's recording now. So I could say, here's my beautiful drawing. I hope you enjoy it. And then click the square to stop. And then I can play it. So as soon as I click it, if I don't like it, I can click on the X and then remove it. I'm just going to keep it and then hand it in. So now in my portfolio, I have two things. I can click on it here and I can see my drawing. So as soon as I click it, it's recording now. The caption that I added is over here on the side underneath the directions. Yeah, you might notice that it says waiting for review. So right now, parents can't see it until the teacher approves it. Okay, for the camera assignments, I said take a picture of a bug that you find today and label its parts. Well, I'm not going to carry this camera around, so I'm just going to take a picture of myself. And then you have some tools here that you can use just like in the drawing. So you could scribble on your drawing, right? You can add shapes and add a caption and then hand it in. So the same options as your drawing, you can record your voice as well. Okay, and the last one, the writing assignment, it opens this page where students can type. My favorite person in the world is my dad. And once they're done typing, they can save it and hand it in. And so now my portfolio has grown. And I don't have any assignments anymore, but I can still click here where it says my portfolio and add maybe a message to the teacher. I can add a drawing, I can upload a file. So here I can upload an image. So maybe they have an image on their camera roll if they're using their parent's phone, or maybe it's a file on their computer they can add. All right, so that's the student view, and now that I have all these assignments done, I'm going to go back to the teacher view and refresh and see what happens. So now when I click on a different assignment, I can see all of the students' work here. And so for each assignment, I see one new item to review. So for each assignment, I'll see that because there's one assignment I haven't reviewed or approved. I can also click on all posts, and now I can see all of the submitted work, and I could approve all of them at the same time. So now if I go to test one student's parent account, their parent in their home screen can also see what students have posted in their portfolio as long as the teacher has approved it. So in that same area where they see all of the teacher's posts, that's where they'll see the approved portfolio entries. Back in the teacher account, one more thing you can do is select a specific student. So if I click on test, they don't have any assignments that they've completed or any posts. Neither do these students, but if I go to test one that just did all that work, I could see all of their work in one place. So once all your students start posting, instead of looking at all posts and having like way too many posts all together, you can click on a specific student just to see what that student has done. Or you can click on a specific assignment to see everybody's posts together. So that covers the most important features of Class Dojo to get you started. Remember, you don't have to use all the features, and feel free to reach out to the tech coaches if you would like any support with Class Dojo. Thanks for watching.